In this video, we're going to talk about the importance of choosing to be positive as women. You know, it's hard. Women, we're typically very hard on ourselves. We're critical of ourselves, and then a lot of times we're critical of others. You know, we're more likely when we're frustrated with someone that we're going to talk about it to someone else, could be gossip, than to really go to the person that's been the source of our hurt or frustration and talk to them directly. It's sometimes hard for women to be positive. And we're going to look again at the story of Mary and Martha, but this time we're going to focus on Jesus and what he modeled for us in the story. So here's what the text says in Luke chapter 10. But the Lord said to Martha, "My dear Martha, you're worried and upset over all these details. There's only one thing worth being concerned about, and Mary has discovered it, and it's not going to be taken away from her." Now again, we've talked about this in previous videos, the idea that Mary definitely had a heart of putting God first. Her priorities were right. The best thing she could do would be sitting at the feet of Jesus. And we also learned about Martha, that even though she was distracted by details, that her heart was to be hospitable, to create an environment that made Jesus and his disciples feel special. And that's a good thing for us to do in our own lives. And what we see here, though, is instead of Jesus being hard on Martha for missing the point of what Mary was doing and to be critical, instead of just being critical of Mary, he gently instructed her in a way that was more positive, in a way that could really help Martha grow instead of making Martha feel bad about herself. So in that text, what you see here is that Jesus modeled a positive attitude. Instead of attacking Martha and making her feel bad about the choice she'd made or her feelings of feeling like Mary left her to do all the hard work, he was gentle and kind of encouraging and kind of led Martha to that conclusion. He still brought her to a place of giving her the truth, but he did it in a way that was more positive and encouraging. And we as women need to learn from that example. And that's why our third principle is this: choose to be positive. So we need to work against the critical nature that many of us have and look at the positive instead. So here's some tips to help you to be positive in your life. Be kind and gentle is the first tip. When someone frustrates you or upsets you or hurts your feelings, a great thing to do is to start from a place of assuming the best of their intentions, not the worst. Don't assume that they meant to be hurtful or to be uncaring about your feelings. You know, if someone hurts your feelings, instead of gossiping to your friend or just being snipey, that you have a heart that says, you know what, none of us are perfect. I'm not perfect, they're not perfect. And so I'm going to be gracious and I'm going to let situations kind of unfold before I just jump down somebody's throat. And I'm certainly not going to be gossipy or indirect about things that are hurtful to me. I'm going to be direct and go to the person I need to talk to. But my heart's going to come from a place of being kind and gentle. That goes a long way in keeping a positive attitude. You know, I think it's important to look at how Jesus responded to Martha. He said, you know, "Dear Martha." You know, that was a term of endearment. He wasn't rolling his eyes and saying, "Martha, you exhaust me. You're such a drama queen." You know, he started with a place of empathy. He started with the place of saying, "Dear Martha, you know, I love you. I know your heart's in the right place." And that just sets a totally different tone of a conversation than if Jesus had just come right out of the chute and said, "You're crazy." And here's the next tip. Be empathetic with people. Put yourself in their shoes. Recognize that everybody has stuff in their life. People have bad days, bad weeks, bad months, bad years. You know, we have no idea what people's histories are, their stories, and why they are the way they are, and why they talk the way they talk, or how they react in certain situations. You know, certainly you see that in work settings. Like we don't really know what the stories of other people are. So it's always good to just be empathetic. Recognize that that person has a point of view. It may not be correct, but they have a point of view and a perspective, and it's good to respect that and understand it and be empathetic and to be willing to put yourself in their shoes and see the world from their point of view, because then that helps to shape the way you're going to choose to respond to them. Because then that gives you an opportunity to be more gracious and understanding. And don't we want people to do that for us, right? When I'm having a bad day, it's nice if people kind of give me the pass of, you know, she's got a lot going on right now, so I'm not going to draw some major conclusion about her now because she was angry and kind of lashed out. Being empathetic just really goes a long way in helping us to be positive in our attitude. And here's the last thing, the last tip for being positive in your life is speak the truth in love. You know, we see that Jesus did that for Martha. He started with a term of endearment. He recognized and put himself in her shoes. He was empathetic toward her and saying, "I know you've done a lot of hard work here." But then he got to the truth, which was Mary didn't make the wrong choice. She made a good choice. She made the right choice to spend time with me and not getting caught up in some of those other details. So we're not going to take that choice away from Mary, and we're not going to rebuke her for that. But he didn't just come right at Martha and say that right away. He spoke to her in love. He met her where she was. He was kind and respectful in how he did it, but he did get to the truth, and he did say, so Mary chose right. And I think that that's important for us as women too. We're having lots of conversations all day long, especially if we're moms and wives. But even with coworkers and friends, there is a place for having to speak the truth in love. This is not about, hey, being positive just means anything goes. And if people are rude to you or mean to you or offend you in some way that you're just like, whatever, that doesn't hurt my feelings. No, that's not authentic. There is a place for having to speak the truth in love, but do it in love. And if you have something to say, that you package it in a way that the person can receive it, they don't get on the defensive and feel like you're attacking them. And I think Jesus modeled that very well for Martha in the story and is a great example for us. So ladies, remember, this third principle is all about choosing to be positive. That's going to help us in every relationship that we have. That the whole world looks very different if we see it from a more positive point of view than if we look at everything from a place of we're a victim or everything bad happens to us. That's not a way to live. That's not how God wants us to be. He wants us to look at people and to recognize everyone has value and everyone has a perspective. And if we can all work together a little bit more and come alongside people and do that in a kind and loving and more positive way, then it's going to go a long way in helping us in every relationship that we have.